And the journey comes to an end. And what an ending it was. And I actually love the bittersweet note the show ended on, but before that, I first want to talk about how dirty they did the Lich in this show. I mean, yes, this isn't the Adventure Time Lich, nor the Farm World Lich, but they didn't have to basically kill him after begging Gold Biddy for something. The problem is that it would have been interesting if it was handled better, but it wasn't. And they could have just had him stay in his dead world, that would have been fine too, but that's okay really. It just annoys me a little because it really wasn't necessary. And I can't say I hate it or anything, so it's fine. But more importantly, I want to talk about Simon and Goldbiddy's interaction and how Simon really felt about his situation in the second episode. I feel like he was on the brink of ending it all, which was a dark twist I was not expecting, and it's also possibly why he was so willing to sacrifice his sanity for Fionna and Cake. It was either that or the other thing. But Biddy wouldn't let him lose himself again, and I like that she showed him her point through choice game in the form of a book gun thing. The characters were cute enough for me to find it interesting, and I like that Simon didn't notice he was being selfish both in the game and in his relationship. And it makes sense really. He spent most of his life as Ice King, who doesn't even remember Biddy, and the time he spent as himself he did away from Biddy with only memories that he looks back to with some rosy retrospection. So of course he wouldn't notice. And I like that they pointed out that everything would have been different and that he wouldn't even be in this situation if he just followed Biddy for a change. But with that in mind, I like that Beth explained it to him as if he was a child. All while the scarab was trying to kill him, and Biddy stopped him by turning him into his true form, and not by killing him. I honestly think the reason why she couldn't kill him like the Lich is because he's basically a god, so turning him into this abomination was all she could do. And it's not like that would stop him. Oh no, he's still determined on destroying this world, even if he had to do it from the inside. But he's still just a bunch of ugly bugs, so I'm sure that will never happen.
What are you doing to these beautiful creatures? Be free, my babies! Freedom!
Dumbass. I'm feeling things I shouldn't be feeling, but I can't help it.
Crud. Oh, he's hot.
Well, I'm glad I'm not alone. And speaking of Gary, and everyone else I guess, I'm actually glad they decided to keep the world the way it was, and I don't really think it came out of nowhere, since Fionna has been questioning it since Winter King, and it makes sense after she found out that maybe living in a magical world isn't like she was dreaming it would be. And since literally everyone else did enjoy their current life, it's actually better for everyone to just stay the way they are. The only real problem is that it's still gonna disappear either by Simon's death or by the scarab. So what they did is having this world legitimized, or more like canonized, from Fionna's wish using a dandelion as a callback to the first episode. And it was just perfect. They managed to save their world without compromising Simon's sanity. But that wasn't enough for the scarab, however, and kept trying to destroy everything, so he got in trouble with the boss. And I love that he's basically Phrasemore's roommate now. And about that, I don't really like that they brought the people from the other worlds to stay. Mainly Jay and Destiny Jr. I mean, in Destiny's case, it's pretty understandable since her family sucks. But Jay, does that mean Finn actually died? God, I hope that's not the case. Otherwise, that would mean that either all his siblings died or he just abandoned them, and both cases are bad. But I'm not really that annoyed by that. Heck, I'm more mad that Fionna didn't end up with Hunter like every version of her did. But that's fine. And speaking of relationships, I want to talk about Simon and Biddy, specifically the memory they shared. When Simon finally realized that he should support Biddy for once, so he decided to go with her on her trip. Except not really, because this isn't real. It's just so that Gold Biddy can talk to him and tell him that despite everything, she doesn't regret anything, which was beautiful. And I think the reason why she called him an experience here is because she didn't spend 12 years or so as Gob, but a lot more, like possibly an eternity, since she's kinda separate from time and space. But the exchange is still really sweet.
You were a wonderful experience.
You were everything.
And I read on Tumblr that the cipher here says Comet, so I'm guessing she'll be reincarnated. And I know it would have been better if they just had their happy ending, But I think it's still a nice conclusion despite it being bittersweet. And Simon is finally getting some therapy, so that's cool. All in all, it's an okay finale. Not as good as Adventure Time, and definitely not the worst I've seen, but it's got its own charm, and I'm looking forward for season 2. If we'll get a new season. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
Just a normal world.